Hey there, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the East to West Hunts podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today we're going to talk about mastering the outdoors. I titled this Mule Deer Hunting, Wolf Hunting, and Survival Skills that are out there. And this is a really, really cool episode because there's some education and some fun in behind everything that we do here. So, Taylor, welcome to the show, man. I'm really excited to have you on and talking about these unique items here.
Yeah, Alex, thanks for bringing me on. I'm excited to go over it and also try to feed into how we can educate people for different types of hunts. I love what you do with East to West hunts, and this really sets people up to be able to learn these skills and get an idea of what they're doing and then being able to go out in the field and enjoy that.
Yeah, I felt like this would be a match made in heaven, just related to what viewers and listeners would be hitting on. Really, what I think my clients appreciate, and then a really unique perspective versus always being in person. You can educate folks in a different manner. So this is a pretty cool thing. Obviously, I'll learn more as we go along too. But the show is yours. So let's hand it over to you. If you don't mind, kind of introducing yourself and just talking about how you even got into hunting and where this kind of led into where you are today with your business.
Sure. Thank you, Alex. And yeah, thank you again for bringing me on. I'm excited to talk about all this. With my background in hunting and how I kind of started with it, my dad raised us, me and my brothers, into it when, we're 9 years old, 10 years old. So we started hunting in Washington, and we just would go out and do, your deer hunt, your whitetail mule deer hunt. And so I got my first deer when I was 10. And then from there was getting deer basically every year, almost every year. And somewhere in there around, I think 2014 or so, my parents separated and then grabbed new families, and we had a bunch of step families at that point. And so the step family on my mom's side took me up and we went out bear hunting and did a bunch of other types of hunts. So I started to kind of expand the areas that we were getting into. This is all up in the Spokane, Washington, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho area is kind of where my roots are. So we had a lot of fun doing different types of hunts, doing different outdoor sports, rafting, camping, started learning how to ride motorcycles and do those things. So it was becoming very diverse. And you find that when you start one outdoor skill, you start another and another, and you kind of have to like juggle all of them. Even though you might suck at like one of them, it will help you get to this point over here. So it's all super connected. So yeah, picked up a lot of different skills, even though I would say I was beginner, intermediate in most of them, and just did what I could to keep up with my stepbrother and my step family, as well as, my brothers and everything. So we just had a lot of fun doing that. And then when I was around like 15 or 16, I started doing a lot of videography, and that's currently what I do for work. So I've done that for the last 10 years and have tried to make that into a career. More specifically like in the insurance and financial services, but I've done real estate, I've done wedding, I've kind of just dabbled in all of it to kind of figure out where I like to do it. And outdoors is where I love to do my video, but there's not as many outdoor clients as you might have like realtors or like weddings. There's always a wedding going on like every weekend, depending on where you live.
Sure.
So I kind of found different opportunities with video in the insurance and financial services. And over this last couple of years, I thought, man, it'd be awesome to start my own masterclass. I had been taking some different film masterclasses online and some different courses, and the mentors were just like, do masterclasses for yourself, like create your own. And I wanted to get into that. I didn't have anything that I felt like I was a master in personally, like on any topic. And maybe that was just the imposter syndrome speaking, but truly I didn't feel like I could, but I knew I could film. I knew I could create a masterclass. I just needed to make friends who could speak to these points, who are masters. And so I started to just pursue different people locally. I lived in Utah at the time when I wanted to start this up. And I went out with a few folks and was just trying to film them. I filmed different rock climbers. I filmed different guys fishing. And I just tried to like put myself into the outdoor industry a little bit with the videography side and just start doing YouTube. So I ran a few YouTube videos to see if it was going to be a successful thing, like if I was actually capable of editing successful YouTube, and they got thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of views. And I thought, okay, if we can do that, if I can attract people onto YouTube, and my content is worth it, then I I believe that I could film master classes at this point. So I sat on it for a couple more years there, still just stewing over this whole thing, waiting for someone else to do it so I could say, oh, I had that idea. But about a year ago, so it was about 2024, February 2024, I went down to the expo in Salt Lake City, and I just like felt that, like almost like that divine pull, like that calling, like this is the time, like you must do it.
Awesome.
There is no better time. It was like, okay, fine. And it's, you get the butterflies because you just feel like, okay, I'm going to do it. And you get that confidence. And so I started going around to different booths and chatting with people. It's just like, hey, want to start an outdoor master class? Can I take your card? Love to chat more. And I ran into a booth called the First Hunt Foundation. And they have a mentorship network across the whole country. It's like 1,300 mentors, where if you want to go out with someone local to you who has experience and you're a new hunter, you could go find a First Hunt Foundation mentor. They've got a background check, so there's a safety put in place for you. And then you could go out and they can mentor you through this first hunt experience, trying to help you. And I was just like, that's very interesting. And I think there's some connection, there's some overlap there, where I can do virtual and they do in-person kind of experience. So it was through the First Hunt Foundation that I was able to get connected to some instructors. And then from there, we've expanded our panel of instructors. I filmed the first master class in May with the Red Patch Outdoors team, and we did a bow hunting train to hunt masterclass. And then later we did an e-scouting plan your hunt to just get people familiar with Onyx and just the tools so they could start like trying to figure out what they're even doing online with e-scouting. And then from there, we released fishing, 101, trout fishing, reloading, and then later on down the year, snowmobiling. And then we pulled in a new batch of instructors and started doing hound hunting, avalanche safety, wilderness survival, wolf, mule deer. And so we started to expand to now have like 11 master classes a year later after that initial expo experience. So my goal was like, I want to come into Expo 2025 with nearly a dozen master classes. So this last year has been just a blast, like trying to get as many instructors aboard and as many master classes onboarded so that people can start like figuring out, okay, I have these skills on the table that I want to learn and I haven't quite figured that out. I've been trying to figure this out for years, whether it's with my friends or YouTube or whatever, and asking people like, what master classes do you want to see? Prioritizing those ones, getting those ones ready. So I've been the man behind the camera on a lot of them. Some of them have been self-filmed and we've migrated them over, like Tom Schneider's master classes. So in that way we have expanded to be kind of like hosting for masterclass courses for instructors who have existing master classes, but it's expanded to be this all-inclusive online platform where they can take a master class. When they purchase any master class, they get access to our full list of all of our brand deals and discounts. They get access to our online community so they can chat with other members and chat with the instructors, all built in within the platform. And then they can get connected there with the First Hunt Foundation and go get some in-field mentorship on the hunting side of things. So really trying to bridge the gap between virtual online learning to in-person learning. And then we also refer people to other types of camps and in-person online courses and certifiable courses and those things to really become advanced in those skill sets. So that's what 360 Sportsman currently is a combination of me trying to keep up with film and media production while also creating a masterclass and making great connections and friendships with these instructors, giving them an opportunity to share what they know where they might not have the same kind of opportunity elsewhere or platform to do so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's brilliant, honestly, because you're the first one that I've seen that you are doing a broader amount of information, right? It's like anything that you see is like let's just use YouTube, for example. I think YouTube's awesome, right? I post stuff on YouTube all the time, but the reality is it's a piecemeal of information, right? So like if you were you're trying to find survival skills. All of a sudden you're going to see 1,000 different videos of people doing a bunch of different stuff. And all of a sudden you're like, ooh, that's cool. And then you're going to go down a whole nother rabbit hole. And it's never something of, there's no consistency in that message of what you're learning. So I thought it was brilliant in the fact that you have, particular hunting stuff. You got fishing, you got survival. You just have more general outdoors while you're encompassing hunting and fishing, which obviously I would say I'm more catered in, but like survival skills, who doesn't need that in the backcountry if they're out, or, first aid or whatever the case is. I don't know. I think it's really smart what you did. I certainly, you piqued my interest. That's for sure.
Thank you, Alex. And there are a lot of different online courses that exist out there. I too, in that same regard, like that all goes back to my background in Idaho of trying out all these different sports. I've seen different online courses for like, elk calling courses and survival, but I couldn't find anything in that same space that was just like all encompassing of all these outdoor skills, and they are intertwined. So if you're going to go out, you do need to have an idea of the wilderness survival. You could end up in a really bad scenario, but maybe you also are interested in like winter sports, water sports, or other topics that we can provide master classes on. So YouTube is designed to grab your attention and like yank you over here and yank you over here, and whatever they can do to keep you on their platform for as long as possible. So that's their goal. And our goal is to get you from point A to point Z as efficiently as possible in learning these skills.
Attention hunters. Are you sick and tired of the complicated draw systems and tag applications that take place out west? Or maybe you want to plan a western hunt or maybe one of your dream hunts and you don't really even know where to start. Well, that's where East to West Hunts comes in. We take care of everything for you. We'll do the tag applications. We just need to put a strategy in play for you of what you're trying to do and when you're trying to go. Whether it's short term, mid-term, or long term, we want to have that play and that strategy together. And when you do draw a tag, we can look at do-it-yourself options such as hunt plans that detail out exactly how to hunt those areas, or we can get you booked with a guide and outfitter in that specific unit or area. So don't leave that hunt to chance. Give us a call, set up a time on the website, contact us on social media, whatever it is, and let's get planning towards that dream hunt of yours. And let's make it a reality. Check us out on www.east2westhunts.com. Again, that is www.east2westhunts.com. Also check us out on Instagram, YouTube, and podcast. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
Right. I know you mentioned like on X, for example, and that's a perfect one, right? Because they're going to cover off on a cool feature and then another cool feature, and they're the post them on YouTube, whatever the case is. But there's no like, hey, here's from A to Z everything that you put together, right? Or even for myself, I do hunt plans for clients, and I've even thought about like, okay, if I put together an A through Z course of how to create a hunt plan, there's a lot of detail to that. So I could only imagine giving one thing at a time. My God, it would take them a year to figure out what's going on.
To piece it together. Like if you did want to learn a skill online, like on YouTube, then try to take everything that's put into these master classes and go find them individually on YouTube, like each of these subjects, and then put it in the correct order. Like you don't know what you're supposed to be looking for. You don't know what you don't know. And so how are you supposed to find the right YouTube video that will go in the right order that you're supposed to learn a skill? It just gets messy. So yeah, definitely a lot of opportunity just for efficient learning, A to Z.
Yeah, I love it. So now that you got masterclass going on, are you still doing weddings?
No.
Okay. I was curious.
No.
I was like, I don't know how you're able to do all that.
No. I dropped the weddings and the real estate like 3 years ago. I was just like, I could not deal with it. Everyone that I worked with was really great, but it was just like the nature of the business that I was just like, no.
Yeah,
I'd rather be out
every
filming.
Weekend and
I'd rather be filming like elk calling or a wilderness survival course or something,
Yeah. So, well, I would too, right? If you would say that you wouldn't, I would question what's going on. So question in that regard though. So how many days a year are you in the field now doing some kind of filming for classes?
I'd say about 2 to 3 days per course, filming about 2 courses a month, maybe about 5 to 7 days a month, maybe.
Okay.
So
So that's not too wild.
no, yeah, because we film pretty quick, and then I guess it depends on quick. We're spending 2 full days, 3 full days filming, doing a couple weeks of editing, and then putting it
Yeah.
up there.
So in regards to that, how did you decide what courses to come out with first? Like, was there a method to the madness on that?
A little bit. A lot of it's based off of the interest. Like when people are messaging us or just in conversations that we're having, it's like, what master classes are you interested in seeing? What topics do you want to know? So there's like a constant feeding of, we want your feedback
Mm-hmm.
so that we can try to produce stuff that people actually want. Because like if I have an interest in duck hunting and that's like the only thing I want to go film and no one really cares to duck hunt, then we're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
So we are trying to get master classes out that like balancing that safety plus like the skills that you want to learn for like your hunts or like your fishing. So like avalanche safety and awareness, you need to have the avalanche component with snowmobiling, and we have a snowmobiling course. We have, and a little bit with hunting too. You should be aware of the different things with avalanche if you're going into some high backcountry. And then with the different hunts, you need to have wilderness survival skills. So kind of trying to mix it in, but we have had a high interest in the wilderness survival and avalanche just alone. Like people want to take that, especially like foraging. So we're going to be doing a foraging master class coming out soon and a primitive survival, just kind of living off the land like they see in Alone. People see that and they're like, oh, could I do that? I love that show and I would love to be able to do it, but I feel like I could build shelters and I feel like I could excel in that area. But when it comes to the foraging side, I would not do well. I'd probably tap out after a couple of days just because I wouldn't know what I'm looking for. So like
Yeah.
I'm personally very excited for that, just to be able to identify different plants and food throughout the year, throughout the different seasons. So it's based off of people's interests, based off of the requests that come through. We get people asking for all sorts of different things. And so that sends us on to a pursuit to try to find the instructors in those areas to cover that. Maybe there's already master classes that exist in those areas, or maybe there's people who are teaching courses on that.
Okay.
Let's jump after those instructors and see if we can do some sort of collaboration. Hey, you've been teaching these in-person courses and camps for years. You know the curriculum, you know what you want to say. People are paying you thousands of dollars to come out and see you and learn from you in person.
Mm-hmm.
And they're able to market them well on social media. So they have a community online. That means that there's a great opportunity to digitize all of that and duplicate that instruction so that the instructor themselves always has another version of them out there teaching, whether or
Got
not
it.
they're doing a camp. So that's another component to it, is like we want to be able to create the master classes per demand, also based off of instructors that we can find who are instructing on these things, who are interested in recording their curriculum and putting it on the platform.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So I guess for the feedback part, like when you started, how did you get feedback starting without having, I guess, a customer base right off of the bat? Were you putting that on like forums, or was it surveys, or what was, I'm curious, what was that like? Because I'm
Yeah.
sure that wasn't easy.
Yeah. So this goes back years before I even got any, like before that expo. When I was in college, I was taking different business classes, and I was doing my master class, or I was doing my filmmaking courses, and they're saying, go do a master class of sorts. I'm like, okay. And then I'd go to my college classes, and I got a minor in entrepreneurial management. And so in these entrepreneurial classes, they're like, let's come up with an idea and let's validate the idea and let's go do like target market research and all these things. And so you have people like coming up with different types of toilet paper holders and, inventions, innovations that they think are going to be the next best thing. And that's awesome. And I'm over here just like outdoor masterclass, and just trying to think of like, what could I do with it? How can I build it? Who can I validate? And so I remember like in 2 years before even starting, so I'd say about 3 years ago probably, I was out trying to collect different surveys. I would join different Facebook groups and just be like, hey guys, I'm doing a survey for like an outdoor business project. And then I'd have people fill out like a Google form. And then I'd go over and send the survey to my family and friends that I knew were integrated in the outdoors. So I was just like trying to collect as many responses on this Google form and like, I'll give you a $25 Cabela's gift card if you fill out the survey. So that was like the initial validation. And then this last year, I joined a bunch of Facebook groups and I was just like, hey, if you're interested in mentoring, like what would you want to be mentored in? And I had people like bear hunting. I really want to get, going on that. I have no idea where to go. I could use some help with like scouting and stuff. So the initial surveys, the Facebook groups over the last year, and then as we've been growing our following, anytime someone, wants to follow us, we're going to reach out to them and be like, hey, what masterclass do you want to see? So we've had hundreds and thousands of responses just in our DMs of what people want to see that we can go through and say, okay, let's tally all those up, see what people want.
That's cool. I mean, it's essentially listening to your customer, right? So I think that's key.
Yeah.
So as far as I was thinking about this, the balance of content, you got kind of the beginner stuff and you got the more experienced folks, right? And I bring this one up because I battle with this, right? Like in my business, I think about tag applications, and a lot of people are like, oh, you must deal with the people that don't ever do tag applications. And I'm like, no, you'd be surprised. Like people just don't want to do their tag applications.
Yep.
It's like,
yeah,
I think there's a factor of time, but a lot of folks on the outside are like, oh, this is a beginner thing. It's not. How do you kind of balance that on your perspective, right? Because you got stuff that could be beginners, and then, I mean, you got stuff that, to your point, you kind of hit the nail on the head with me when you said about the foraging, because I tell my wife that all the time too. We watch Alone and all these other shows, and I'm like, man, I would crush it on like making stuff, being hard-headed, killing things, but like the fauna, I don't know. That's just something that I've never studied myself. That would be my weakness. So like before I would go out, I'd be needing to read literature on all the freaking pieces of grass and wood in British Columbia or Alaska or wherever the hell I'm at.
Yeah.
you know. So I know, long-winded question, but just kind of the thought, like, how have you balanced that, or how did you think about the balance there of the newbie to the experienced?
Yeah, we have to cover it all. So, and that's the goal over these next couple of years, to develop enough master classes. I'll kind of go back a little bit. So we plan to do about 2 to 3 master classes per month is how many we plan to release. So by the end of 2025, there's going to be roughly 30 master classes. Of those master classes, those are going to cover a pretty broad range of the full outdoor spectrum as much as we can, from everything from water sports to hunting, fishing, and everything in between. We have to start somewhere. So in some master classes where we can with the instructor, we're going to go from 100 level to 400 level. Like we will chug through and push that all the way from beginner to advanced or expert. Whereas in other master classes, there's just a lot of information, even on a beginner level, that could cover 60. And so we just have to like establish enough base, like with the fishing 101, that one's like 60 lessons or something.
Wow.
And so there's just like enough there that if we try to go up to 400, this could be like a 200-300 lesson course. So what we're trying to do is first cover as much of the spread of the outdoor industry as possible, do something that no one else is doing with having this full range. Then, and starting with as many 100 level courses as we can across that spectrum, and then go back around and hit the 200, 300, and 400 over the next couple of years, as all these people that are coming in for these different master classes are leveling up. They've had a couple months to practice their skills. Now we can go ahead and add new courses or new lessons to advance them along and push them to higher levels. There are some different courses like mule deer hunting, wolf hunting. Those master classes are beginner to advanced. They're gonna take you through.
Cool.
And we have other ones there too that are set up in that way. Those are just two that right off the top of my head. So yeah, as much as we can, get that base out for that beginner intermediate section. And then we're going to bring in a whole new level for the more advanced expert, for people that are like, I already know a good deal about whitetail hunting, been doing it for years. I think I know what I'm doing, but I'm sure there's some secrets to this that, like,
Yep.
if I knew, I would be dropping big bucks year after year. So,
Well, you know, the way that I've looked at any of these things, because I've done quite a few educational things. I mean, even for myself, from scouting to planning to different animals. I mean, I've definitely put the time in. Or I know you were mentioning about the video thing, and I was thinking, like, I had no idea what I was doing with a camera before. I don't know. I dabbled with it back in like maybe 2016, 2017, 2018, but then I finally was like, all right, I got to like take courses. So I bought into courses that, you know, were not the most expensive thing in the world. And I would say they were all self-paced, very similar than the masterclass stuff. They took me months to get through because I took time, notes, you know, copious notes, play with it, use it, test it, go back, next deal, you know. But that was like such a great learning experience to like where I am now, where like I actually understand the function of a camera and all the nuances of the lenses and aperture, and you know, like all those things matter, right?
Yep.
As you know, obviously you're a photographer and a videographer, so that's your wheelhouse. But for me, that's not my wheelhouse. But I can learn it if I have a step-by-step function to it. So I think it is important to it. But the way that I always looked at these things was like, you go into it thinking like, oh, it's going to be a waste of my time because I'm going to know it all. I always looked at it as like, if I can take one thing that I didn't know out of it, it's a huge win. And I think for a lot of folks, like that's a big key component to it. Because like whitetails, yeah, you might have been hunting in the same tree stand as your great uncle for the past 50 years, and you got deer out of it. What happens when you go to a new area and you have no idea what's happening, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that's
learn
exactly
lesson.
what happens. I mean, like I said, my dad taught us how to hunt and stuff, but then I moved down to Utah and I'm like, whole new world. You know, how do you navigate this place? What tags do I need? What is this, like, drawing points? What?
Yep. Yep.
And it's foreign, and then you're like, terrain. Okay, this is like a cliff versus a rolling nice hill, you know, open terrain versus thick wooded timber like
Yep.
northern Idaho. So things really start changing, and you have to ask yourself, like, and be a little humble there, like, do I actually know what I'm doing, or did my dad just like hold my hand the whole time and put a buck in front of me and I shot it?
I mean, but that's like that's learning. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, because to that point, I mean, I deal with it all the time, in a good way with clients, right? They're like, man, I've shot ducks and turkeys, and I mean, these guys are great hunters. You know, you go put them in Colorado in the middle of nowhere for elk in the mountains. They're like, I have no clue what I'm doing, right? And a great whitetail hunter might be a absolutely horrendous elk hunter. It's just a completely different style of hunting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The animal
So
behavior itself, like that, you might be a good hunter yourself, but you just might not know much about the actual species that you're going after, and the
right,
species are different. So
yep. Well, yeah, you actually talking about northern Idaho. I mean, I've hunted right in that same area to where you grew up many a times. It's thick and nasty. So like for somebody wanting to be like, oh, I'm gonna go glassing and doing all this other stuff, like, dude, you ain't glassing a thing. You're gonna see 10 feet in front of you. So
yeah, get
it's a
ready to
totally different
sit.
ball game.
Get ready to sit. You know, I mean, you can get into some country where you could definitely hike around, and Tom will do that. Tom will go through thick timber and get, you know, big muleys and stuff. But
Yep.
you gotta change your game. And so that's kind of that's the idea with these master classes, is there's different species that, one, you got to know the species. You got to know what the species is doing throughout the full year. You got to know where they're dropping their sheds. You got to know where they're moving, where they're grazing, what side of the mountain they're bedding on and feeding on. You got to know all these different pieces and how that's changing throughout the year. And then to that point, knowing where they're actually at and like where to locate them, where to go for that hunt. And then once you get out there, how to approach them, how to get in close, and how to make the effective shot. So there's a lot there that could change if you're hunting in a different state or in a different region. And so that's an area where we also aim to have master classes, as like Tom does a lot of mule deer hunting in the northern Idaho area and,
Mm.
Montana and some other states there. But what happens when we go into other regions where we might want to hunt mule deer and it could be a little bit different? We could definitely benefit from another instructor sharing their knowledge and their expertise hunting mule deer in that zone as practices or things might change slightly, right? And so that could just vary different species. Maybe there's another hunter that has just a totally different hunting style. They like to do more of a baiting style, depending on what state you're in or whatever. So this is where we start looking at the possibility of having different instructors teaching similar subjects, but their styles are different. And so people might say like, my style doesn't quite align with this person's, but it does this person. And then they can have different options to choose from, or they could get, the 360 premium, the full package there, and then be able to take both of them and be like, yeah, I like that one. Like that one works better for my area and better for me. But at least I know how to hunt this species in a different state. So now I could go put in some tags or do some applications, and I know how to hunt the mule deer in multiple locations. So yeah, definitely keeping things broad, diverse, not boxing anything in, whether it's with the companies we work with or the number of courses that we have or the amount that we do with species. Like we want this to be as beneficial to people and give them as much opportunity to choose what they want to take and where they want to go to learn.
Cool. That's really cool. So actually, one of the things that I was thinking about, I got into the Facebook group that you have and all that. If I take a course or I take a master class with said, I don't know, let's use the hound hunting one, right? Is there a way to ask questions in the course, and is it answered by the instructor themselves, or is it like you as an admin answering stuff, or how does that all work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when you buy the masterclass, any masterclass, you get access to the community. That community is built on the same platform. And so you could toggle between course and community. Like if I'm watching a lesson and I have a question, I could just toggle over to the community. And there's a channel specifically for that topic. I could go straight to that channel, put the question right there and make a post for it. And then the 360 team or the instructor can jump in to help out and answer. Maybe they have a question like, where is this lesson? And like as an admin team, we could point out that or point them to the information, or the instructor can jump in and provide some good insights. So you can do that. There is also a one-on-one chat feature. So you could technically message the instructor directly and have like just a one-on-one conversation with them too.
That's sweet. That part is very valuable.
Yeah, you don't really get that with Facebook. And we want to provide value with the Facebook group for those who aren't a paying member so that they know what's going on, they know what's coming out and can share successes and share about them and stuff. But with the online community there built in with the master classes is where we can really like mentor people along and answer questions for them.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Totally answered my question too. I was very curious on that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This was another one I was thinking about. Have you had any like crazy success stories? Like somebody reached out and was like, man, I watched one of these things and like this was a game changer.
Yeah, with we'll say for the Mule Deer Masterclass, we've had a lot of people taking that one. So that was a masterclass that Tom has had for years.
Okay.
That we migrated over to the platform because we wanted to be able to help him manage that with the customer service so that he could focus on going filming and doing more hunts, teaching more, and just building into it. And so we migrated it over to help out. And we've had amazing reviews and feedback just on that masterclass alone of people and who have recorded fun videos, and it's on our Instagram. You could go look under our tags of people who are like, yeah, I used the formula, I used the system, check her out, and holding up right there.
Big
like,
old buck.
Yeah, right on the ground. Like this is the stuck in the rut formula right here. That's really cool. And Tom's got lots of messages on the wolf hunting side and on the mule deer side, lots of great reviews. We've had a lot of great reviews as well on our Google, and also that have just been texted and sent in that are on our website. People who have just taken the master classes, who have enjoyed learning different fishing skills that they had no idea how to get started with fishing, but now they can go out and actually like throw the bait in and catch something and have some success. So those are a few areas that we've seen success. While also people who don't know where to go to hunt have had fun with the e-scouting side, like starting to actually get an idea of how to use Onyx and like have a strategy to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really fun, like seeing the things that people learn. And those who buy 360 Premium, it's we follow up with them and we're like, hey, how's it going? Like, what's your favorite masterclass of the package? And they'll have finished like 3 master classes. I'm like, I'm starting the reloading one now. I'm excited to see what I learned so much in the last one. It was so good. And now I'm going on this one. And they just like plow through them. So we're like, we got to keep pumping them out because they're going to get through them. We never want them to be able to finish all of them.
I love that. Well, yeah, that's a thought. As far as let's say I got into the premium because viewers and listeners don't know this, but you can essentially get individual classes or you can get all of them. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really, really cool. Let's talk premium, right? Because I was dabbling on that. How long is an average class? Like if you were to take the classes that you have on there right now, what's the average length?
Yeah, looking at that, I'd say probably 2.5 hours. We have a few outliers. Like we got wolf hunting is 6.5 and mule deer is 8.
Okay.
But
that pulls the averages up a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say we'd have about 2 hours to be very flexible on all those other ones, 2.5. And we add lessons to them as well. So those get longer over time as we film and as instructors get frequently asked questions from their course, then we add more content to it.
Oh, that's smart.
But yeah, that's about the average time. So people, they can get the individual masterclass that they're interested in that topic. Maybe they just have one skill that they want to focus on and get started with, or just get like a sample of what does 360 Sportsman include and how does this whole thing work? Maybe they've never bought masterclasses or online courses before. So then they can start to just get in that experience. And then 360 Premium is where they can get all of the current and future masterclasses with that one-time payment. We only do one-time payments. We don't do subscriptions just because no one likes hidden secret charges like billing their card. Right. You want to know one and done, but you do get lifetime access to it. So you buy a masterclass or you buy 360 Premium, that one time you're going to get all the years of courses to come and the oncoming discount codes that just keep getting added to the brand hub. So those are a few of the things. I mean, all the masterclasses that are onboarding, all the discount codes, that itself, we want to have enough discount codes and good deals where that offsets the price of even 360 Premium itself. It's like, I use these brands, I like these brands. The discount codes that I get from 360 Sportsman itself is like enough to justify paying this amount in those savings.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. Makes total sense to me. Have you guys thought about doing, and this is in the future, my brain's going, but what about as you get bigger and the community gets bigger, do you foresee doing any kind of live in-person events in different states or something of that nature?
Yeah, we've talked about that. It would be awesome to first master the master classes and like get this at a point where it's just like, this is the platform, like this is the place to go. Right now we're doing a lot of referring to in-person events, like this academy over here, this group over here, and just kind of sending people those directions. But definitely, like what I would love to see, and I've mentioned this before to our team, is like, it would be just so awesome to have like a massive facility with like where you could just go and there's these different instructors there and you could do like, an in-person class with them. They've got all the tools that they need at that facility, or it's on like a massive property where you could do some different things outdoors, not just like an indoor thing. But so there's a possibility like maybe someday we'll have an awesome facility or even just leasing or using different camps or places for people to go to and have kind of that in-person experience.
Yeah, that's cool. That's kind of where my brain was going, because I've even thought of doing a particular educational topic, and you go to 3-4 different states, and you have people fly out, or obviously people that live in those areas, and they're hitting them up, and you got 10, 15, 20 people live and have a blast meeting folks. I don't know. That seems like a lot of fun.
People enjoy it. It's not for everyone, but there is a group. There are those people that want to do that continuing education, and like they want to network with people. They want to make friends. The classes are a great way to make friends. They want to know the instructor and have the instructor know them by name. Yeah. They also get that like hands-on experience with them. So I think it'd be super, super cool to have that at some point where you could come out and take that in-person masterclass or kind of a more in-depth experience with the instructor.
Awesome.
Down the road.
Yeah, totally down the road. But it's just always cool to talk about what the future holds with things like this. So I feel like, well, east to west hunts is a factor, right? As far as my business, because we do stuff all over all 50 states and in Canada. I have yet to do something in Mexico, but I think this year we'll have some folks go guided in Mexico. But with that, kind of have planning of whitetail stuff, or there's obviously Western animals such as elk now on the east side of the country. But if I was a guy and I was interested in Western hunting, which seems to be the, let's call it the sexiest thing, if someone's brand new to it, like where would they start with 360 Sportsman? Like what would your recommendation be?
Yeah, I'd say the mule deer hunting, if you're going for a specific species. Wolf hunting, it could be good to know like the predators depending on where you're at. That is a big thing. Like you do want to be aware of cougars, wolves, in the area and how that will affect species. We also do have elk hunting and bear hunting coming out later on in 2025. And so, black bear hunting specifically, of course. And we have Tom Schneider doing a masterclass on that, as well as Joe Condilis. And Joe is the founder and president of the American Bear Foundation. Bear is a great opportunity. There's a lot of black bear in Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and then elk, of course, are fun to do. So being able to know those different types of species will give you greater options when you do come out. And then, of course, we're setting that whitetail masterclass up, doing some planning for that. Does that answer your question as far as different species that you could do in the West?
Yeah. Because I think mule deer and elk are probably the most, I think the most common. But even in on my end, right? Like I talk about the big three and the small three. Like when people are applying, the big three are like sheep, goat, and moose, right? Those are going to be like things that either take forever, they're going to cost a fortune, or you're going to be 97 before you draw a tag. Yes. And then you have the small three, which is elk, deer, and pronghorn, which everybody applies for. And then you got wolf and bear and mountain lion that are kind of like the ad hoc additional factors that now people have curiosity to, that are so much fun to hunt. I just think people don't automatically think about it. And I actually think it's kind of interesting because you have wolf and hound hunting as two master classes, which is like kind of wild. Yeah. And you have elk coming. So that's like super cool. You're going to go through deer, you're going to go through these other predator factors. And then by the time you probably go through them, you're going to have elk out and all, I don't know. You could have a whole year's worth of education to go through, and then you want to knock it out because, like, this is how I would do it. I would learn, go do it, come back and say what worked, what didn't. Yeah. Let's rip that apart. Let me go revisit it because I have access to it. Let me go back. We're going to do this bad boy until I get it right? That's how I do anything, and that's how I would utilize it. That's for sure.
Yeah, the bear and the elk. The bear one, we're trying to have that one done before the spring bear season, as soon as possible, so that people can get out and get ready for bear. And then elk around that summertime too, just so people can try to pick up a few skills right before season. It's funny how many people like purchase master classes after the season is over. And Tom can speak more to this with his experience of
It didn't
like,
go well.
it didn't go well. You would think that they wouldn't buy like right after season, that wouldn't be the time to do it. But no, that's one of the peak times, is because there's like just a gloom of woe is me. I didn't do it right. And then that's when we get people like messaging us like, yeah, I didn't have the best season, so I think I should probably figure something out here and get started, which is totally fine. And even if you are having success, there's always opportunities to learn new skills and like pick up new best practices. Like you might be taking big bucks year after year, but what if you could get into some awesome area, awesome country, and find something more, and just keep that like passion going of in that pursuit. So yeah, it is kind of funny with these predator classes, like having them up. The hound hunting one is super awesome. You have to know about hound hunting because there's a lot of push to like against hound hunting, and you have to understand like how it does fit into the picture with conservation and wildlife management. And even if you can come out and do like a Western hunt and do something with hound hunting, whether it's with bear or cougar or bobcat, it's a great experience. Like it's a great time. In this case, it's with Adeline Richardson, and I love her perspective on hound hunting. The way that she does things, much different. You know, the Adeline is like to the book, and it's not about even shooting everything out of the tree. She's actually taken very few cats from the tree, like in her career, because it's more about the dogs, keeping the dogs trained and keeping them on point with being able to track the species. She's able to use those species for observation and study. And it's just a unique experience. And for photography too, she can run the dogs and treat a cat and take pictures of it. Tell the cat, don't go near the farmland. Don't do that anymore. Okay, dogs, great job. You did a good job. I got good pictures. Let's go home, everyone. Come on. And then takes the dogs off. And that's what she's been doing for years. And so it just gave me a different lens on hound hunting, that there's a lot more wildlife management to it than just like shooting everything out of a tree, which if people do that and are listening, like good for you. That's awesome. It's totally cool. Everyone has their thing. It was just a different angle that I hadn't really seen before on the hound hunting side. And I think it's unique. So that's how it is with a lot of different skills. As you learn different skills, you realize like, maybe I could let this mule deer, maybe this is a nice buck, but maybe there's a different buck that's more mature that I could pull out of the area and try to take that and let this buck grow a little bit more. Oh, this is like a nice tom cat, but it's not mature enough to do much, and it's got years to go on it. There's just different things that you start to understand, and maybe it's a level of pickiness and you want something bigger, but maybe it's also you develop a little bit of like conservational maturity and realizing like there's always another year. Maybe there's something more mature that I can take to just kind of balance this area out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, there's definitely I call it the evolution of a hunter. I think there's different phases for people as they go along. But to your point, even with hound hunting, right, that's a pretty, I don't know, is it contentious? Is that the right word? It's certainly something that everybody's got an opinion on. To your point, though, if you really kind of learn about it, a lot of great information about one. Well, actually, I'll get into a story here. So there's a gentleman that I follow. He's a photographer. He's in Alberta. I can't figure out if he's anti-hunting or not. I think he is. He takes fantastic pictures, but he has gone off the deep end on mountain lion hunting because the local government, the person involved also has an outfitting business, conflict of interest to him. He's all about it. They opened up cat seasons, which it didn't have before. He believes that mountain lions all regulate their own population, so there's no need to hunt them. And then he ends up having a relationship with one of these cats that he's been essentially following around for 3 years, taking pictures of. And then last week, somebody shot the cat and she had 2 kittens, and he goes absolutely bananas. And he is posting every 5 minutes on Instagram and becomes a whole circus. I mean, he's got thousands of people following it, the whole deal. And I'm like gut wrenched watching this thing because essentially like he's stating the 2 little kittens can't live, but the kittens don't have spots on them, which in theory, like biologists wouldn't say it's illegal. You can make your own point, but the moral of the story is like they use hounds. Hounds are going to tree the cat. You can identify it's going to be a male or a female. You can then choose if you actually want to harvest it or not. There's a lot more time that can be done. Hound hunting is certainly not easy. I mean, I got guys in Idaho that have gone 5 years in a row, 5 days consecutive, walking 10, 12, 15 miles, and they haven't shot a cat. Finally, their 5th year, they shoot one. It's not like, it's certainly not the 200 yards walking out of my truck and we come track. I tell you that. That's not a norm. But you know, there's a lot of positive to hound hunting. Moral of the story of that, especially because you can identify. And then the recent stats I was actually reading about was in states that allow hound hunting, out of the harvest, the average harvest of females is only 40%, where the states that do not allow hound hunting, it's 60% harvest of females. Because like what's going to happen, it's kind of the same thing with bears, right? If you can't beat a bear, if it's the only bear you see, you're probably going to shoot the damn thing. If you can sit there and wait on it and look at it and you're like, oh, well, that's the 3rd bear I've seen today. It's not as big, or it's not a boar or whatever. It's a different style, whatever your shake is, but give it a shot and actually learn something about it, I think is the key component of what I'm trying to say, because I think the education is pretty important.
Yeah, we've seen in different states just like how management varies and different styles of that, for better or for worse. And like we don't get too much into that like as a business or even as a masterclass, but we do just want to like put the information out there for how you do it, and then like how you do it ethically, responsibly, and legally. It's like we want people to be able to make good decisions when they go out and be ready for it and like be planned for it, and not do stuff on the fly like that, or be pressured even into doing stuff like that they might not be ready for. And then in addition to it, it's not an area where we want to also cover topics that, whether they're controversial or not, people need to be educated on them and be aware of what's going on in the greater ecosystem of conservation, whether or not they personally think that is, you know, an ethical thing to do or not. Because when it comes down to it, if you have like people who like to do water sports and they like to go boating, dissing on the hunters and those who like to spend time up in the mountain, well, the hunters could say like, oh, it's not ethical for you to be out boating. Think of all the oil, think of all the fish that you're killing, all that stuff. And then the boaters are up there saying, think of all the things that you're killing, all the trash you're leaving, all the... We could, people, this is what I see on Facebook, and we see it all the time, just people bashing each other across the outdoor industry. And like in our communities, we don't tolerate it at all. Like we will remove you in a heartbeat if you're dissing on other people, because what we're trying to do is create a community and strengthen the outdoors by supporting each other in their different sports. And so if people are more educated on sports and know what it's actually about, then there will be less of that going on, and they can actually be more supportive. So when the legislation comes out, they know who to support. Yeah, I'm going to go support my boaters, even though I don't boat and I don't care about boating. I'm going to support it because it's an outdoor sport, and I understand that they enjoy that. That's part of their lifestyle. Just like when the legislation comes around for me, I want them to support me, and I want them to have my back as a trapper or as a hunter. So there's this thing that we need to do called supporting each other and having each other's backs. And if we do that and are just a little bit more graceful to each other, regardless of the different styles of outdoor living that we do, it's going to make everything a whole lot easier. And we can really strengthen ourselves against what comes down the pipeline.
I think it's spot on. You know, I think with with any education, but you know, kind of veering towards the conservation end of things, it's, you know, if I don't trap, I could easily say I don't give a crap about trappers. And then trappers are like, well, I don't really care about these hunters that are doing X, Y, Z. And that's the lack of support. It's like, man, I see it all the time with people complaining about archery is the best and shooting long range is the best. So it's like, man, we're all doing the same thing. We're buying tags. We love being in the mountains. High five. You teach me something, I'll teach you something. Let's kumbaya together, versus like, well, you know, you suck more or less because you like a gun versus a bow, whatever. I mean, it's a tangent, but I do see the same thing. And I'm always sitting there reading these forums or whatever. I'm like, I am not even motivated to participate in any of this. Actually, or I'll remove myself completely from it because I'm like,
Same.
these are just people that I don't even want to talk to.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
it's just like you just get these keyboard warriors who fire off. So
yeah,
yeah, if you're planning on doing that in our 360 Sportsman community, just like just
don't
don't
come to the community.
don't even like join that side. You could buy master classes, but don't even start because you won't last a day. We just want what we want out of the 360 Sportsman community is the culture of asking questions. That is like the motto. Is like if I have a question, I know I could ask that question and I'll get the answer, and it will be delivered in a way that is encouraging, inspiring, and actually useful, not demoralizing or you're stupid, you're an idiot, go to a
Yep.
different group and ask that. It'll just help support, help people learn, help people feel better about what they're trying to do as an outdoorsman or woman, and actually have more confidence like doing it for themselves. So
Love
it's
it.
important. People gotta have each other's back.
No, I love it. I like all of it. I think you got a cool thing going there. So with that, let's kind of talk about how do people find 360 Sportsman? How do they get involved? What's all the details?
Yeah, so a great way to get started, go to 360sportsman.org, browse through the different master classes that are there. You could check out ones further down on the page that are coming soon, so you can get an idea of what's coming out, and you can join those wait lists to get notified. We run occasional discounts on the site. If you do join a wait list for one that you see that's coming out, you'll get an early bird notification discount for that. And then also for all of the East to West hunters listening here, or any of your listeners can go ahead and take advantage of a 15% off with code East to West 15, all
Sweet.
caps.
Thank you for
Yeah.
doing that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for people to jump in and get started on a master class and do a little bit of savings there too for them.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so I can add a link in the description with that, and then people can take advantage of it. So it's East, the number 2, West 15.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, well,
Yep.
I'll add that for folks in the description. That's awesome. I really appreciate it. People love
Yeah.
saving a buck.
Yeah. Want them to be able to enjoy these master classes, and appreciate everyone that is listening. And 360 Sportsman has so much opportunity for you in saving money and learning new outdoor skills. At the end of the day, like what Alex is saying here, it's like you can go enjoy outdoor sports, and at the end of it, it's about making connections with people in the industry, high-fiving, and hey, you're over there, I'm over here. You're creating a legacy for your family. I think back of all times I had with my dad and with my grandpas who are now gone, and like, man, that was like their legacy that they left behind, in the memories that I had with them, is a lot of it was in the mountains. And there's times where we can just develop new skills to take out with our families and our friends. And that's going to be what our family and friends, those times that they'll remember with us. Like it's more than just taking a big buck or something, a big trophy animal or a big fish. It's about the memories that are made in the process. So if you can learn something good from this, from these master classes, share it with other people, teach other people new skills while also having good experiences in the outdoors with your loved ones, keeping the legacy alive so that our grandkids and great grandkids have an outdoor experience, and the legislation doesn't take all of that away. Like there's a lot more to it than just purchasing a master class. It is about keeping the legacy alive. So thanks, Alex, for bringing me on to talk about all this through my rambles and rants.
I
I'm
love it,
excited
man. It was
for
great.
anyone that signs up, and we'll see you all in the community.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on. I thought this was a great conversation, good education on what's going on. And again, I think you got a very, very cool, I call it product and service really for what you're offering, and a lot more to
Thank
come.
you.
So I'm
Thank you.
certainly excited to play around with it myself. So for any listeners, hope you guys jump in and take advantage of it too. It'll be a pretty cool thing. And yeah, I'll see you in there as well. Lastly, I'll jump into my little spiel here, but it is a tag application season. So please check out the website at www.east2westhunts.com and hit that free consultation button, and let's set up some time to talk about what you are looking to do and take advantage of 2025 and beyond with whatever you got planned. If you're looking for hunt planning or anything else, same deal. Shoot me a note. You can go to info@east2westhunts.com. You can email that way. You can go onto Instagram at East to West Hunts or head over to the website. And with all that said, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again for joining. Remember to scout, hunt, and repeat. Thanks.